It's now 2022. I'm sure many of you are looking to start the year off by adopting some new eating habits. Surely if you're watching this video, you at least have some ambition to include meal prep as part of those plans. So let me introduce you to Snack City. Snack City is the name that I have given to the space inside of my freezer that holds all of my meal prep snacks. There's a variety of different snacks I keep inside my freezer, like these pizza bites, popcorn chicken, tater tots, but today I'm going to show you a pretty standard prep that I do often of crinkle cut french fries, pancake bites, and chicken fingers. So if you're looking to fill your freezer with snacks, you can follow along with this video. We're going to start with these crinkle cut french fries. I do 5 pounds or 2.27 kilos of russet potatoes that I cut into crinkle shapes using a crinkle cutter. Now I got my crinkle cutter off Amazon. I will link it in the description below. It was only like $7, highly worth it to me. If you don't have a crinkle cutter, you can just make a regular fry shape with a knife, but I like the crinkles because it adds more surface area so that when it hits the air fryer, you get more crispiness on the fries. You'll want a starchy potato for these, which is why I recommend the russet. You can get by with using a waxy potato, but they're just not as good for fries. Once all those potatoes have been cut into fry shape, place them into a bowl of salted cold water and allow them to soak to help remove some of that excess starch. The nice thing about prepping these crinkle cut french fries is that once you get them cut, that's about all you have to do. Now they're just going to soak, and then we'll put them in the freezer to flash freeze and then store them away in their Ziploc bags and they'll be ready to go. So set those potatoes aside to soak. We're going to let those go for 20 or 30 minutes, and while they're soaking, we're going to prepare our chocolate chip pancake bites. For this prep, I made 96 chocolate chip pancake bites by mixing together 4 cups or 400 grams of oat flour, 4 scoops or 120 grams of vanilla casein protein powder, 1 cup or 100 grams of cornstarch or tapioca flour, and then 4 teaspoons or 16 grams of baking powder. Give all that a sturdy mix to make sure all the flours are evenly incorporated and homogenized. Then you're going to pour in 2 cups or 520 grams of liquid egg whites, 2.5 cups or 600 grams of water, and then about 60 grams or 1/4 of a cup of mini chocolate chips. Give the bowl another stir until you've formed a smooth batter. I'm often asked if you can substitute whole eggs for the egg whites in this recipe, and to be honest with you, I've never even tried it, but I don't see any reason why you wouldn't be able to. Once you have a smooth batter, you can begin to fill the wells of a mini muffin tin. Now before you put any batter into these wells, make sure you spray it lightly with some oil. As you can see here, I have a giant 48 well mini muffin tin, and I actually have 2 of them. Because I do a lot of my snack preps with a mini muffin tin, I like having the large size pan so that I can maximize the amount of stuff that can be cooked at the same time. This cuts down on how many batches I have to do in the oven and makes prep time at least twice as fast. If you plan on using my recipes to fill Snack City in your freezer, it would probably be nice for you to have one of these giant pans as well. I'll include a link in the description. I got mine on Amazon. After you get all the wells filled, you can take your remaining chocolate chips and sprinkle them over the top. You're going to bake these at 325 degrees Fahrenheit for 8 to 10 minutes. Now at this point, your fries have probably been soaking for about 30 minutes, so we can move on to the next step with them. Line a large sheet pan with paper towels and drain all of the water from the bowl with the potatoes. Pour those fries out over the pan and pat them dry with a paper towel as best as you can. You're going to place this pan into your freezer so that the fries have a chance to flash freeze. You want each of these fries to freeze individually so that ice crystals can form on the exterior of each fry. This not only helps keep them better in the freezer and prevent discoloration, but it also prevents them from freezing together in one big clump, making it impossible to grab a snack-sized portion whenever you want them. Once they're dry, you can pull away those paper towels, season lightly with salt, and move them into the freezer to be flash frozen. Whenever I tell people to flash freeze on a sheet pan in their freezer, I always hear somebody say, "But I can't fit that in my freezer, so what am I supposed to do?" I need you people to listen to me very closely. Be smarter than the freezer. If it doesn't fit, find a different way. Your pancake bites should be done now, so you can pull them out of the oven and allow them to cool. These actually don't need to be flash frozen. I do recommend flash freezing everything, but you can get by without doing it for these pancake bites. I do like to put them in the fridge though, just so I can harden those chocolate chips. Otherwise they get all melty when you put them in the bag. And last but not least, we have our chicken fingers. If you have somebody to help you, you can have them start the chicken fingers when you start the crinkle cut french fries and get done with this even faster. I use corn check cereal as my breading for these chicken fingers, and to make it, all I do is put the corn checks into a blender and pulverize it until it looks like a flour. If you don't want to use corn checks, you can use regular standard breadcrumbs as your breading. Just put them in the blender the same way and make them into a powder. Depending on who I'm prepping for and how ambitious I'm feeling, I'll usually do between 5 and 10 pounds of chicken fingers anytime I do a prep. Right now I'm living alone, so I've got 5 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken breasts that I'm cutting into finger shapes. I try to cut them into about 1 inch to 1.5 inches in thickness. I find that when they are too thin, they dry out easier in the freezer and upon reheating in the air fryer. Once you get them all cut, you can season both sides of that chicken lightly with salt and pepper. For your breading, you're going to use 2.5 cups or 250 grams of those corn checks that we ground up earlier and mix in 2 teaspoons or 8 grams of salt. Next, coat the chicken in a half cup or 60 grams of cornstarch. Now there's a couple of ways you can go about doing this. If you want to do it the correct way, you can add the chicken and the cornstarch to a Ziploc bag and then shake it up so you get a nice even coating of the cornstarch on all the pieces of the chicken. Today I wasn't feeling doing that, so I just poured it over the top and mixed it together, and guess what? It turned out just fine. And now we can start the actual breading process. For this, you will need an egg wash, so mix together 2 eggs and about 3 tablespoons of water to thin it out. Beat that together until it's smooth, and then you can move all of your chicken into the bowl. To bread the chicken, you're going to drain off all the excess egg, place it into the ground corn shakes, and shake it around to make sure you get an even coverage on each piece of the chicken. The wider and the shallower the dish makes the breading process easier. So if you have a big baking pan that you can use that's like a 15 by 10, that would work better than a bowl because you can fit more chicken in that to touch the breading at the same time than you can with a bowl, and it makes the shaking process go a little bit easier. Once you see that all your chicken has an even coating of the corn shakes, you can shake off any of the excess and store it on a separate sheet pan and repeat this process until you have all of your chicken breaded. This is another step where it'd be nice to have an extra set of hands. If you have somebody helping you, you can have them start to cook the chicken while you finish the breading process, and it just makes things move a little bit quicker. To cook the chicken, you're going to use your air fryer, or if you have a convection oven, that would work as well. You don't want to overfill this basket though, so don't put too many pieces of that chicken in, otherwise it's going to cook unevenly. Spray the tops with a bit of oil, and then we're going to air fry this at 400 degrees for about 10 to 12 minutes, flipping it over halfway through. As each batch of chicken finishes cooking, you can transfer it from the air fryer to a wire-lined sheet pan to cool and refill the air fryer with another batch of chicken. Repeat this process until all of your chicken has finished cooking. If you have a lot of chicken and it looks like it might take a while to finish all of the cooking, create some sort of a system that allows you to store the cooked chicken in the fridge so it doesn't sit at room temperature for too long. Once it is all finished cooking, it's time for another flash freeze, so you can move this sheet pan into your freezer and allow it to freeze uncovered until all of the pieces have frozen individually. In my experience, if you're going to store these in a regular Ziploc bag, you don't need to flash freeze them, but if you plan to store it in a vacuum sealed bag, definitely flash freeze them first, otherwise they'll freeze together in one solid block. Once everything has cooled and or flash frozen, you can transfer it all over into your Ziploc bags. I only started using vacuum sealed bags in the last month and a half. I had just used a regular Ziploc freezer bag for the last 4 or 5 years, so if you don't have a vacuum sealer, you will be just fine. The vacuum sealer and bags that I use are from Zwilling. Again, a link will be in the description. Because everything gets so compact with the vacuum sealer, the flash freezing step becomes super important. I had to learn this the hard way, where everything I froze the first time I used them got frozen in a solid block of iced snacks. It was literally impossible to separate them out. Except for the pancake bites. I was able to break those into individual pieces fairly easily, but flash freezing still would have been better. Flash freezing so that each piece of the food is individually frozen makes the vacuum sealing process doable. Without it, I wouldn't recommend vacuum sealing. Each of these snacks can be reheated straight from the freezer to either the air fryer or the microwave. For the pancake bites, I arrange them on a plate and microwave them for a few minutes until they are hot and serve with some maple syrup. For the chicken fingers, I pull them out of the freezer, place them into the air fryer at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 5 to 8 minutes or until they are hot in the center. You don't want to overcook these chicken fingers as they will dry out if they take a trip that is too long in the air fryer. For the crinkle cut french fries, they go straight into the air fryer from the freezer at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 12 to 15 minutes. I like to do these 3 snacks at the same time because they're easy to make and prepare simultaneously. It gives me something sweet with the pancake bites, something salty with the fries, and something that's protein packed with the chicken fingers to keep inside of the freezer to meet any of my cravings. Snack City's purpose is to make your life easier and help you stay on track with your eating goals. Instead of having to reach for chips or cookies that you have in your pantry when you're hungry, you can open the door to your freezer and be welcomed by a buffet of choices that can meet any one of your cravings. I'll include a link to each of these recipes on my website in the description below, where you can also find all of my other Snack City recipes. Never forget, Snack City protects, Snack City provides, brick by brick.